It's just about noon now. So, good morning, good afternoon, both together, because we are in the transition period. Thank God for this privilege to stand before you, especially being the last Sabbath for the year. I remember a few years ago, I think a couple of years ago, I had the privilege to preach similar, the last sermon. And at that time, I remember I showed how many messages that we hear in a year and things like that. If I remember correctly, I think the sermon was "Be the Sermon." If I can recollect it correctly. Today my sermon's title, Spiritual Warfare. I'm not entirely sure if this is the right title to be given, but based on the scripture reading that we have now, I thought this would be the best one that I can give to this message that I have prepared. In the last couple of months, I have been studying about beginnings, especially beginnings about sin and before earth was created and things like that. And it so happened, before I started doing the study, after a long time, I started going on Facebook. And when I went on there, I found that some of my very good friends, Adventist friends, they found every opportunity to mock, to scoff, to religion. I was wondering why all of a sudden, these people have become like this. The whole family background is full of Adventists, and for them to speak like that, there should be some reason. So I was trying to find, not directly asking them or anything like that. I was trying to find what goes into minds of these people when they behave like this. And while in that search, I could find some things from the Bible, but from the writings of Sister White, there were lots of things that I could find in relation to this. And I have collated now quite a few pages, about 20 pages or so. But from everything that I could read and what I have studied, there was one thing that I could, that came into my mind, which showed a big, thing that showed up in the study that I did. And that is to say that how we, the word authority, if, when that word authority is said, or when you come across somebody who has an authority, how do you react? What is the reaction that you have? That determines our destiny, our eternal destiny. That's what in my study that I came across. So our relationship with authority, particularly godly authority, is going to determine our eternal destiny. To say it clearly, how we respond, interact and understand and accept authority in our lives will determine our eternal destiny. That is going to be my exploring now in different ways. This is a statement that is going to be based on everything that I'm going to do now. Everything that I'm going to present is not my thoughts, but mainly from the pen of inspiration and from the scriptures. Okay, just before we can go to that, when you think of authority, what goes into your mind? Do you feel a comfortable feeling? Not necessarily, isn't it? You feel like you need to be constrained into something, or there's so many things. that comes in our mind when we talk about authority figures in our life. For example, okay, there are so many authority figures in our lives. Like we have parents, we have the government, the queen in this country, we have police, teachers, all of these things, especially in today's world. For the children, when you watch television today's children television program, you will never find one television program which will praise parents. Okay, they're always mocked at. They're always like, no, they don't know anything, useless, stupids, things like that. It's always derogatory, even to the teachers, even any authority. That is the normal today's television programs for children. They have this conception, especially because of those things that they're exposed to. Children have the conception that parents don't know anything. Okay. And what about authorities like police? And you always think of police and government, you always think of what? Rules, they want to control you, things like that. And what about church? Even church, in the church leadership, many people are there who want to just, don't want to be controlled. Okay, that is the reason I found that people go out of religion. They want to be free, they want to act on their own. They think that religion is a system of control. That is the basic thing that many people have in their mind. And so, accepting authority in our life, it has become like a sign of weakness, a sign of giving up our rights. So, my study today is about this statement. Let me start from the beginning. Okay, we all know about this. We know about how Satan, went through what kind of a person he was. We know that he was the most beautiful person. He was a quiet leader. He had everything that he wanted. But then we see that I've highlighted there. He had an eye problem. Okay, not the department that Sachin and Hepsi and Rita are working. It's nothing to do with eyes, but he had this eye problem with him. He wanted to be the highest authority. He wanted to replace God. That was the issue that he had. To understand these things better, I found a lot of things in the book which was compiled. It's called The Story of Redemption. Okay, by Sister White. Okay, this should have actually gone before when I was talking about all the authorities. It's coming here. Okay. Story of redemption. There was contention among the angels. Lucifer and the sympathizers were striving to reform the government of God. Okay. Can you see the word that is used? He is using, what did he say? Reform the government. Okay, they are not rebelling, they are reforming. Okay, and then it goes on to say that they rebel against the authority of the Son. Now Satan had a particular problem. He had a problem with the Son. Okay, the authority of the Son, which is Christ. That is the problem, that is the main problem that he had. And so, the issue in the great controversy is the authority of the Son of God. So, Lucifer looks at Christ and he says, I'm not going to bow down to you. I'm as good as you are. And so, he decides to lead a crusade as such, and he gathers all the angels. And he disguised himself under an excuse, or I can say pretext, of fighting for the liberty of the angels. And his pretext was so compelling that 1/3 of the angels listen to him and and fell for whatever he was talking about. Okay, to know more about this, in the chapter before, so rebellion always has a compelling pretext. So when somebody rebels, there is always something else behind it. Okay, that's what it means. And that is what Satan is saying here. I'm not rebelling, I'm only reforming. So in the name of rebelling, he's saying that I'm actually reforming. Okay, so in the book Story of Redemption, in the previous chapter, we see here that he told them that henceforth all the sweet liberty the angels had enjoyed was at an end. For had not the ruler been appointed over them, to whom they would henceforth yield servile honor, he stated to them that he had called them together to assure them that he would no longer submit to the invasion of his rights and theirs. Okay? So he had a problem, but he's putting that problem across to everybody else. He's enforcing the problem that he had with the Son of God to all the other angels in heaven. He's saying, I'm fighting for your rights and my right. That's what he has put in there. Basically, what Satan is telling there is, we have to right the wrongs. God is not doing it correctly, so we have to correct it. And we saw that Lucifer had a problem that originated with disputing the authority of the Son. Okay, but to cover the true issue, his jealousy and his problem with authority, he had to come up with a convincing pretext. Okay, that's why he comes up with saying everything that we read in here. Okay, going forward, again in the book Story of Redemption, the great God could have once have hurled this deceiver from heaven. Okay. As soon as the thought came into this, say God could have actually cast out Lucifer from heaven, but this was not his purpose. He would give the rebellious an equal chance to measure strength and might with his own Son and his loyal angels. In this battle, every angel would choose his own side and be manifested to all. It would not have been safe to suffer any who united with Satan in this rebellion to continue to occupy heaven. Notice the last sentence. They have learned the lesson of genuine rebellion against the unchangeable law of God, and this is incurable. While I was doing this, I also read that the angels who did not fall, they were pleading when this attitude came into Lucifer. They were like in tears. They wanted to convince to get back all the angels. Okay. And so from the statement, genuine rebellion is a disease that is incurable. It's not my words. We can see this in many more writings that Sister White has written. How did Satan get there? Okay, so it started with pride. I don't know, it may not be in the proper order, but these are all the things that happened in him. And then he gathered people against God, to fight against God. Our relationship with authority will determine where we stand in this great controversy. This is not the end of the story. After Satan was thrown out of heaven, the story does not end there. We all know, we have read the scriptures, and history that happened in heaven transfers onto earth. There are a number of instances in the Bible that we can look into. If you look into the book of 2 Samuel, chapters 13 to 19, we can read about Absalom. There are many more. Adam, Cain's rebellion. There are so many stories that we can see. People who did not want to listen to the words of God. There is one story which is very, very, I don't know how to describe it. It's a heartbreaking one, which I want to just we're not going to go through the full story, but we all know the story very well. It's in Numbers chapter 16. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Numbers 16, 1 to 3. We see here that the Israelites come together and they have a dispute with Moses. And the dispute is specifically to do with Moses' authority. Okay. I showed you the chart of how the things that Satan went through. Now, if you look at it, I put the same words, and these are the things that the people were actually talking about. If you see, they say we are all holy. Okay, basically in this chapter that we see, they're saying, Moses, we are all holy. So why do you have to take the responsibility? All of us are equal. Why should only you do this? God is. Why are you lifting yourself, Moses, above us? In short, what were they contending for? They were contending for their right. Okay, that is exactly like what Satan was doing there. So this is the same compelling pretext, like Lucifer had the same thing we can see here as well. Sister White explains about this in Selected Messages. She says, I question whether genuine rebellion is ever curable. Okay. I'm not going to go to the end of the full story. We all know about the story. So in that instance, when we see there is a contention, and we all know that there was a punishment. Okay, the earth opens, and all of them just are grabbed inside the earth. What do you think would have been the reaction of the people at that time? Do you think they would have said, "Oh, the earth is open"? I think most probably they were all wrong. Do you think that would have been the reaction? No, they would have definitely said, these people were wrong, that's why God has punished them instantly. Okay, that is the reaction that they would have had. But listen to what happens in Numbers chapter 16, verse 41. But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. These people, they knew with this thing that was going on, and God punished those three people, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. They were punished. They were sucked into the earth. In spite of what happened there, these people still don't want to believe that it was their mistake. That is why Sister White says, rebellion is not curable. Let's take a look at another verse from Sister White. This is taken from the Testimonies for the Church. It is Satan's plan to weaken the faith of God's people in the testimonies. Next follows skepticism in regard to the vital points of our faith, the pillars of our position, then doubt as to the Holy Scriptures, and then the downward march to perdition. So when I went through these verses, I could sense that something like this would have happened in those people who were scoffing and mocking at what they were doing on Facebook. So this is the game that Satan plays into people. Then when the testimonies which were once believed are doubted and given up, Satan knows the deceived ones will not stop at this, and he redoubles his efforts till he launches them into what? Open rebellion, which becomes incurable and ends in destruction. Why do I bring all these stories from history, from the Scriptures? It's because Satan knows that what worked in the beginning in the earth's history, it didn't work in heaven, he was thrown out, but it worked on earth. And he knows that is the best way to attack the children of God. It worked in the camp of Israel, and Satan knows that it will work again. And that is his end game, which will lead you to the point that I want to bring, which is about open rebellion. Because open rebellion, he knows that is incurable. But where does all this start? just a little doubt, a little bit of discomfort, and this will lead to rejection, and it will lead to questioning and casting off rightful authority in our lives. When we think of any authority in our life, there is only two options. Okay? Either we submit to the authority or we rebel to it. There is no middle ground. Okay? But sometimes we might come with a clever way of saying, if I agree with you, I will submit. Is that submitting? That's not submitting, isn't it? That's not really submitting. If I agree with you, then I will submit. Okay, that's a modern way of people trying to avoid godly authority in particular. So when we look at the authority, the godly authority, what the authority that God has, we may have a lot of questions from the scriptures, many unanswered questions. Do we doubt God? Do we not accept His authority because we don't understand things? No, we don't do that. Okay. And when we surrender to God, okay, when surrender to God is, okay, this is the flow of thing which I put in there as well. Okay. We need to surrender ourselves to God completely, and we need to allow God to be God in our lives. God is the ultimate authority, and we need to surrender to Him no matter what happens. How do we do this? A couple of weeks ago we had a good study about the Bible, how we should use the Bible, and we know that the Bible should be our guide because it is the Word of God, and that is our highest authority that we can see here. Okay. I hope you have followed up to now what I've said. Now, so we see about the godly authority that is there, and we see that Satan did not want to follow the authority. Now, when it comes to earth, God has placed or we should say delegated authority to humans in various ways. That's what we saw in the beginning, about the different authorities that we have: the government, the queen, parents, teachers, all these things. There are many authorities that we can look at. Today, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I will try and do 3 or maybe just 2, depending on time. About the authorities. Okay, the first one I want to talk about is parental authority. Okay, children, please listen. Okay, so how do I say that God has delegated authority? We all know this, this thing which has happened, which is recorded in the book of Matthew, where when you feed somebody who is hungry and you do good to others, you are actually doing that to God. Okay? Based on that principle is how I have taken that God has placed authority in different capacities in our lives. Okay? Okay. God Himself, who has placed upon them, meaning the parents, a responsibility for the souls committed to their charge, has ordained that during the earlier years of the parents, years of life, parents shall stand in the place of God to their children, and he who rejects the rightful authority of his parents is rejecting the authority of God. Okay, this is what Sister White says. But we also need to remember that parental authority changes according to the age of the child. Okay? It's not going to remain the same throughout their life. Once they are 3, 4, 5, it changes. The responsibility that we have towards the children changes in different ways according to their age. Okay? So God has placed parents in our lives to help us understand, to have a relationship, to understand God's authority over us. Because God is in heaven and He has given us earthly parents as authority, one of the authority figures. Okay. Let's go to the next paragraph. This is taken from Patriarchs and Prophets as well. The fifth commandment requires children not only to yield respect, submission, and obedience to their parents, but also to give them love and tenderness, to lighten their cares, to guard their reputation, and to succor and comfort them in old age. It also enjoins respect for ministers and rulers and for all others to whom God has delegated authority. Okay. So, the authority that God has given to parents to guide the children should be followed correctly. And there is this balancing thing as well where the parents have the responsibility as well. Not just commanding them, but we need to know how we need to teach our children in the right way. Okay? Just because parents, this is for you, children, this is for you. If your parents are asking you to do something wrong, what would you do? They're not going to answer that. Okay, will you obey your parents when they ask you to do something wrong? I expected this. Okay, when as parents have a responsibility as well, and one of them is that they have to do everything in the law. Okay, that's what the commandments say as well. Let's just have a look at what the world thinks about this. Okay, I got this from psychology, a magazine called Psychology Today. What rebelliousness can cause in children, So, I just found this things from there. I'll just read this, what I found in there. Rebellion can cause young people to rebel against their own self-interest, rejecting childhood interests, activities, and relationships that often support self-esteem. It can cause them to change, to engage in self-defeating and self-destructive behavior, refusing to do schoolwork or even physically hurting themselves. It can cause them to experiment with high-risk excitement, accepting dares that as the children they would have refused. It can cause them to reject safe rules and restraints, letting impulse overrule judgment to dangerous effect, and it can cause them to injure valued relationships, pushing against those they care about and pushing them away. Okay. So if rebelliousness grows in the children, they will shun from every good thing that is there. They want to be for themselves. They want to live only for themselves. Sister White, no, this is not the statement, not Sister White's statement. Contempt for parental authority will soon lead to contempt for authority of God. Hence, Satan's efforts to lessen the obligation of the fifth commandment. Okay, you all know what the fifth commandment is. Honor your. Okay, what is the fifth commandment, children? So, if we disregard parental authority, if we don't honor that, we will also learn how to dishonor God. Okay, this is for you, children. So if children, you have the habit of disregarding the parents' authority, you're placing yourself in a much more easier way where you will also disregard God's authority. Okay? Now, as I told in the beginning, parents, we have a responsibility as well. It says in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1, I think I got, yeah. Children, obey your parents. In the Lord, but this is right. Okay? So, children need to obey the parents as long as it is in line with the scriptures. Okay? If any parent is telling you to do something which is not right from the scriptures, you should not be following it. Okay? And we are also told that as fathers, we should not be provoking our children to wrath. Don't lead them to a thing where it will cause wrath to them, but bring them in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So parents have a big responsibility as well. The second source that I want to talk about is civil authority. I'll just go quickly with this. The civil authority. We know that in the book Romans, where it says that we need to submit to the authorities of the government. Now, before you can just dismiss this and say, okay, I pay my taxes and all those things, and I abide by the law. If you think of the rule that was going on at this time, it is not a very friendly rulership that was going on at this time. When Paul wrote this letters, it was the Romans. It was this government which ordered the killing of Jesus and all the young children. So it was that kind of authority. Now Paul is saying you need to submit to that authority. Okay, and that's where we also have the statement which says, "Give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar." Okay. So it is our responsibility to give the due respect that is due to the authorities of civil as well. Okay. Sister White says this about this: we are to recognize human government as an ordinance of divine appointment and teach obedience to it as a sacred duty within its legitimate sphere. But when the claims conflict with the claims of God, we must obey God rather than man. That is very important. We know that in the end time, as Adventists believe that Sabbath is going to be, mixed, or we should say state and religion is going to be mixed. And when that happens, we know what to do. When it clashes with God's law, we need to obey God rather than man. Okay, so let me go to the next one. The next one I call it ecclesiastical authority. Okay, in Acts of the Apostles, Mr. White says, there have been ever in the church those who are constantly inclined toward individual dependence. They seem unable to realize that in that independence of spirit is liable to lead the human agent to have too much confidence in himself and to trust in his own judgment rather than to respect the counsel and highly esteem the judgment of his brother, especially of those in the offices that God has appointed for the leadership of his people. Okay, here is the key. God has invested his church with special authority and power which no one can be justified in disregarding and despising. For he who despises this despises the voice of God. There may be a lot of questions that may rise in many people's mind as to how do we know that these authorities God has given? These kind of questions may come in our mind. But the statement that we see here, it sounds similar to what we read earlier regarding what God said about parents. Okay, God has invested the church on this earth with the highest authority. Okay, this is not just from the writings of Sister White. We can also derive this from the scriptures, what Jesus said. Okay. So we know about this one. We always say when there is a problem, we need to go to them, and then after that take more people. We all know that. And in the end, we see here that if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it to the church. So at the end, what is said here is the church is the highest authority when it comes to moral and religious, spiritual authority. Okay. So connecting everything that we studied now, there is spiritual warfare taking place. The same battle that saw Lucifer being cast out of heaven, it is the same tool that he is using today on us as humans. Just like the eye problem that Satan had, he wants to instill in any of us. He wants to install that eye problem in us. Why? Because when we do that, we will be able to disregard the rightful authorities in our lives. And the reason would be just like how we did in the beginning, that we want to reform, we want to stand for our rights, things like that. He wants to plant the seeds of rebellion in us. He does this by causing doubts in each other, maybe misunderstandings. I'm not sure if I have it here. Okay. Okay, I forgot to address this one. None of us live up to himself. This is what the Bible says. And Sister White, if you see in your bulletin, you can find the statement as well. But the Lord that none live up to himself, Satan has determined to oppose. He desired to live for self. The moment when we think that I can do everything by myself, I don't need anybody else, that attitude itself is what Satan wants to instill in each of us. Okay? I can do everything by myself. That is the ultimate aim that Satan wants to do. But the Bible is very clear. It says none of us can live to himself. And this is the law of God in heaven and on earth. As long as, okay, before I go there, when it comes to church, we have been studying now about authority, unity, all this quarter. We studied so much, isn't it? As long as there is, as long as there is rebellion, there can never be unity. I don't know how much you would agree to this, but I believe that this statement is very, very important for each of us. As long as there is rebellion, any kind of rebellion, whether it is rebellion within the church authority, whether it is rebellion within your family, it could be parental, it could be within your siblings, it could be with the civil authority, whatever it is. If there is rebellion, there can, especially with the ecclesiastic authority, there can never be unity in the church. Okay, finally to finish things off. As parents, are we representing God rightly? Okay. God has delegated from heaven, giving various authorities to us with the I don't know if I should use the word hope, that God hopes that we will represent Him in the most rightful way. Okay. And so, as parents, are we showing the authority that God has given us to represent God in the rightful way? Okay, that is the question that each of us should think about in our lives. What do children see in us? Okay, when children look at us, are we the authority as parents which will make them comfortable? If we don't do that, if they are not comfortable with the parental authority that we provide them, then they are not going to be comfortable with godly authority. Okay? And because they are not comfortable with this authority, they would say, is that how God is going to be as well? And in terms of civil authorities, we may see corruption, we may see lies, we may see injustice being done. But when all these things go, even when all these things are going, when rules are made, when the road is made 20 miles per hour, do we go on 60 miles? We may go, but we have the fear that we are going to be caught someday. Okay? So we need to bow down to civil authorities as well. And so, again, in conclusion, we have authority figures in our lives, whether we believe it or not. Those who claim that they will listen to no one, all they're saying, just like Lucifer said, is they themselves are the highest authority. Okay. So if anybody is saying that I'm not going to listen to anyone, I can do everything by myself, like how we saw in the text in Romans, if they do that, it means that they're saying, I have the authority, I am the sole authority above God, just like what Satan did. It may be difficult for some of us to surrender to authority figures because of the wrongs that have been done in our lives. Okay, some authorities may have made some mistakes and they have done some wrongs in their lives, maybe some pain inflicted by some authority figures. This is part of life, yes. Perhaps as a parent or a teacher or an elder or a pastor, maybe with some organization that you are attached to, probably the NHS or wherever that we are accountable for. We may be hurt. It may be the church. We are discouraged because of some of the questions and we disagree in many of the things. So does that call for rebellion? Because we saw that rebellion is wrong and there may have been some mistakes done, but so can two wrongs make one right? It can't. Sometimes, if I take the example of Brexit, we may not understand the full thing, everything that is going on in the top level. But it is the government who is going to decide. And we have no choice, but we need to accept that authority. You can't go and say, no, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to be, part of Brexit, I want to be on my own. We're not going to say that, isn't it? So, in the same way, any authority that God allows in our life, we need to learn to accept it and rightfully give the due honor to that. Let us not fall like how Satan did. He was cast out of heaven, and for us, we will not enter into heaven if that is what we are all waiting for. And at the same way, we need to also, anyone who has authority, parental authority, whatever authority that you have, we need to make sure that we represent God in the most influential way to our parents, to those under our authority, in whatever capacity it may be, so that Satan will not have the chance to plant any seed of rebellion in any of us that is here. May God bless us as we enter into the new year, that we will not fall prey to the ploys of Satan in terms of any authority figure that we have, that we come across in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson, for the message.